Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Argentina live discussion. As always, my name is Roy Nemmer of Mundo Albiceleste.com. This time, I am joined by none other than Osvaldo, also of Mundo Albiceleste.com. We are here to talk about the Argentina team for the Copa America, the starting 11, the players that were cut, your questions, your answers. So let's just get to it. Osvaldo, how are you? How is everything?
I'm doing well. Very excited to see Argentina in this Copa America. I'm also very excited to see the comments because we're gonna be talking about the lineup for the first match against Canada, our which would be our lineup. So we also want to hear what are the thoughts of the Mundo followers. I know that everyone has their lineup and the player that they would put over the other. So I'm just very um, just waiting for the start of this Copa America.
Yeah, and we're just a couple of days away already. It's crazy to think it's been 3 years, almost exactly 3 years since Argentina won the Copa America. But as we always do in these live discussions, let's get to the comments. Everybody, let us know where you are watching from. We always get from all around the world. Let's get to it here. We have Rayan and Rayana. Morning, Roy from Nepal. A world will scare by both flanks in the near future. Vamos. Duong, hello. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Liam, hello. Zongao says hello as well. It says hola. BC, viva Argentina. Suraj watching us from Dallas, Texas. Suraj, are you going to be going to any Copa America matches? Let us know. Master Azar from California, are you going to be going to any Copa matches? We're going to talk about that because we're probably going to be going. Well, Osvaldo's going to some Copa matches. We'll get to that as well. Miguel, Las Vegas, what's up? What's up, buddy? Thank you for joining us. Sungao from Kentucky, Duong from Seattle. BC talking about CONCACAF, and well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that opening game versus Canada in a little bit, and the CONCACAF teams. BD, hello, everybody. Suraj is going. Excellent. I'm glad to hear. BC from New York City. BC, are you going to be going to Argentina versus Chile on when is it? The 29th, if I'm not mistaken. No, 25th. Sorry, 25th, I
25th.
believe.
Yeah.
25th. Master Azar, it's all right, buddy. We'll be in this together. George watching us as well from NYC. BC talking about CONCACAF fans, really going into it deep. But let's get into this. And actually, wait a minute. We got a couple more. Mickey D's is going to be in Miami for Peru in the quarterfinals in Houston. Fingers crossed, buddy. Fingers crossed. The hands all the way from Haiti. Welcome. Miguel going to the first game versus Canada. And BC wants to go, but probably not. It's all right. We're always going to have these live discussions as well. But yeah, let's get into it, and then we'll talk about a little bit more about who's going to go where to what matches. The Copa America team is out. We know the list. Right off the bat, initial thoughts, everybody. Let us know in the chat. What are your initial thoughts? Osvaldo, what were your initial thoughts in regards to this list?
I wasn't surprised with Valerdi being out. Um, I wasn't surprised with Barco being out. I was surprised with Correa being out because we all kind of knew that two defenders and one attacker were not gonna be included in the list in that cut from 29 to 26. But I expected Carboni to leave the list. And we're gonna probably talk about him a little bit further and if he will really see a couple of minutes in the Copa America. But it was a big surprise. It was a really big surprise for me that name in because when Dybala was not called, I was like, okay, he's taking Carboni because then it's easy to just leave Carboni out of the cut and he would go happily to his vacations, you know. But it's not the case. I think that Scaloni sees in Carboni something really special because, and maybe we can then talk further about it. But we have a lot of um, projects for the future in what regards to attackers in that kind of position, Luca Romero, Matias Solé. But for some reason, Scaloni sees something in this kid because he's a kid, uh, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's we spoke about this as you mentioned. I was the person that said I wouldn't be totally surprised if we do get a surprise, and the surprise is Carboni that does make it. As for the three that were cut, I mean, Anthony's saying Balerdi should have been in ahead of Petzela to prepare for the future, in my opinion. it was close for Petzela, to be fair, especially in terms of his fitness. That he might not have made it. Ultimately, he did. Miguel saying, "I was surprised Petzela and Nico Gonzalez stayed." Nico Gonzalez is the coach's son. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's get to the list first. Let me just pop up my screen here. We'll share that, and then we'll just hide this for a second. So if we get to the actual list itself, the goalkeepers: Emiliano Martinez, Armani, and Rulli. I don't think that's a surprise there. Defenders: Montiel, Molina, Romero, Petzela, Martinez Cuarta, Otamendi, Licia Martinez, Acuna, and Tagliafico. Midfielders, and this is where I'm super excited about it. And I know when we're going to talk about our starting 11, this is where we might have some differences. But midfielders, we got Guido Rodriguez, Leandro Paredes, Alexis McAllister, Rodrigo De Paul, Ezequiel Palacios, Enzo Fernandez, and Gio Lo Celso. Up front, Di Maria, Carboni, Messi, Garnacho, Nicolas Gonzalez, Lautaro Martinez, and Julian Alvarez. Some big names, some World Cup winning names. Where would you rank this overall? Let's say, Osvaldo, just in terms of CONCACAF, in terms of the players that have been called up. Do you think this is on paper, of course, on paper, the strongest team in CONMEBOL? Sorry, I said CONCACAF, but in
Yeah,
CONMEBOL?
for sure, and we don't have to be scared of saying it. Of course, Seba probably would be like, no, we shouldn't be saying this right now. But in papers, we are the favorites. We are the candidates. Sorry, um, for sure. Not only because of the lineup, but also if you just take a look at our benches, and we're gonna talk about our lineup for the first match and for the Copa America, and we're gonna leave a lot of incredible players in the bench. So by far, we're the candidates.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say as well, and it's a very, very strong team. I mean, if you look at the players that were cut, right? If we talk about Valentin Barco, that's definitely one for the future, and probably for a lot of other, let's say, South American teams, maybe he does make the cut. Balerdi, probably for other South American teams, he does make the cut. Correa, I'm surprised and not surprised, as you mentioned, but we're talking 2 out of the 3 players, or maybe even all 3 players that were cut, probably end up getting picked for other national teams in South America. So this is how deep this team really is right now.
And Dybala would start in any team in this Copa America, and he didn't even make the 29 player list.
Yeah, and there's a big, big name. Yeah, you're talking about. I mean, Dybala. We could talk about Icardi. I know people love to talk about Icardi, but very much in form, just in terms of goalkeepers, the depth in the goalkeeping department for Argentina right now. Walter Benitez not making it, Juan Musso not making it. So there is depth pretty much all across the pitch, right? We spoke about Senesi in the past, but let's get to the comments here. Han saying he looks like a real winger, just like Garnacho. In terms of Carboni, George and Scaloni, we trust. Absolutely. BD Gammer, happy for Lucas Martinez Cuarta. Miguel saying that left and right backs are our weakest. Molina and Montiel are not in good form. All right, well, we'll talk about the starting 11s too. Could we beat Real Madrid or City is the real question. Yes, we could, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we don't have to win the Copa America. So
there you go.
But I want to say something that I was kind of mentioning before about Carboni, for example, and I saw the comment that you just read about in Scaloni we trust, and I think it's that because we're mentioning like there's a lot of Nico Paz, Luca Romero, Matias Solé, a lot of players in that position that have a lot of future. But if you see, for example, how Scaloni did with Julian Alvarez, I was very surprised when he was in River Plate. He was not even starting much. He was young and he was starting some matches, being in the bench in other matches. And Scaloni called him up, and we always had good attackers. And he called him up, and then he had the World Cup that we all know. Something similar happened with Enzo Fernandez. He in Benfica he started to play a little bit. He was doing great. He entered the World Cup like in the last minute, you would say, and he had the World Cup he had. So I think that he has a really good talent in getting these players that can make a difference in the future. So if he sees, yeah, he has a good eye. So if he sees this in Carboni, which I probably, if you ask me, I mean, I haven't seen, to be honest, I haven't seen Carboni much in his club in Monza, I'll be honest. But I would have taken Soler, who had a better season, in my opinion. I would have taken even Lucas Romero. But if he sees something in Carboni, I think we should trust him.
Oh no, definitely, definitely, and I mean, you mentioned Alvarez, you mentioned Enzo Fernandez. Those are two big players right now for Argentina, starters arguably for both of them, depending on, of course, the opponent in the match. And Carboni is one for the future, and according to Messi, he's even one for the present. I mean, Messi said he's someone for the present and the future. And I mean, we didn't talk about this. I mean, you weren't on the live discussion, but Argentina on the last match versus Guatemala. What did you think of Carboni? I thought he was great. I don't know if you had time to watch it. I know you were on vacation, you were on holiday, but if you did watch it, what did you think? Because he was arguably, Messi aside, probably the best player on the pitch for Argentina, at least
No,
in the
no,
first half.
yeah, I did. I agree. He had a great performance, even generating the foul for the penalty kick. I still want to see him against better national teams, of course. But yeah, he did great. He has personality. He has a really good um, technique and physical ability. So yeah, I wouldn't be very surprised, although we have a lot of attackers that could come in the second half of any match. But I wouldn't be surprised if Scaloni trusts so much in Carboni to maybe put him in the second half of any of the matches of the Copa America.
Yeah. And we're talking a lot about Carboni, and Carboni could maybe be a starter depending on the opponent, or as you mentioned, come off the bench. Then when you throw in someone like, again, controversy, but someone like Alejandro Garnacho off the bench, even though he didn't get any minutes whatsoever in the last two matches, Argentina have two game changers, two real game changers coming off the bench as substitutes. So if need be, they can tire out the back line, they can tire out opponents, they can create chances. So the depth is there. And the same thing can be said. I don't know if the same thing can be said for a lot of the other teams right now, all across the world, not just in South America, but Argentina has the depth and quality. They
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
really do.
yeah. We can even
Look,
use different formations because we have players in every area.
yeah, if Scaloni wants to play a back five, a back line of five, or three center backs, he can do that. We have the players for it. If he wants to play a 4-4-2, we have the players for it. If he wants to play a 4-3-3, we have the players for it. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the team lines up versus Canada, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit. First, we'll get to a couple of the questions and the comments and everything here. Anthony's talking about Carboni, saying hopefully Carboni goes out on loan to get consistent minutes next season. Fingers crossed, depending on how he does at the Copa America, what happens there. Who knows? We could get a big European club, trying to sign him. So Ngao's thing, the second half versus Guatemala showed World Cup champion quality, and going back and to the depth when we had Di Maria coming off the bench, we had De Paul coming off the bench, we had Paredes coming off the bench. Yes, it was Guatemala, but the changes were instant. The quality, everything, and you can tell Argentina has that depth. Now, moving on to, I guess let's get to a little bit the team. So I have a little bit to talk about, but the starting 11, and everybody in the chat, let us know how you would go with this. Obviously, Emiliano Martinez, the starting goalkeeper. The back four. How would you, Osvaldo, line up in regards to the back four versus Canada in the opening match?
Yes, taking into consideration that like I would put like the best team, of course, for the first match, and for the rest of the matches. I think that right now the best left back that we can play is Nicolas Tagliafico. Um, I don't know. What do you think in the left back position? Do you think Tagliafico, Acuna?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely go with Tagliafico. Acuna is kind of just sort of coming back from injury. I know it's been a while now, but I would still want to rest him. It is a tournament, and I think both Acuna and Tagliafico will start. I guarantee that. But I think versus Canada, I would go for Tagliafico more than Acuna for this one. And if we look at the chat, I mean, Caspian is saying Tagliafico. Uh, Duang is saying the same as the World Cup final, which would include Tagliafico as well. Miguel is going for Acuna. So if we look at the back lines for this one, good up saying Montiel, Romero, Licha, and Acuna. Miguel, Molina, Romero, Lisandro, Acuna, Zachary, Tagliafico, Cuti, Otamendi, Molina, and Master Azar saying Emi Martinez, Molina, Romero, Otamendi, Tagliafico. So I'd go Tagliafico. Osvaldo, what about you?
Yeah, I would go with Tagliafico if both were in their like totally fit in their prime and stuff. I would go. I prefer Acuna. I like more Acuna, but in this case, I would go with Tagliafico. And moving on to the center back position, I would go with Otamendi, Otamendi and Cuti Romero, because again, if Lisandro Martinez was 100% fit and and he didn't have the season that he just had with injuries and stuff, I would go with Lisandro and Cuti. But taking into consideration this first match against Canada, I would go with Otamendi and Romero.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now, because I know there was a lot of talk in the last two matches about people maybe not wanting to start Otamendi, they go with Lisandro. So you would go Otamendi and Kuti, is what you're saying essentially.
Yeah.
I am going to agree with you on this one. I know that might not be the most popular of opinions in the chat. I would definitely go with that. I think, not saying that Lisandro Martinez is not experienced or anything like that, but I think going into the tournament, especially the opening match, where there might be some jitters or butterflies or nerves, I would go with the much, much more experienced Otamendi alongside Cuti Romero. That's for me, personally speaking. But if Lisandro were to start, it's not like I would be disappointed either. I'd be very, very happy either way.
So up to now, we have the same team. And I think in the right back position, we all agree in the chat and you that Nahuel Molina is over Montiel right now.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and I think that's the right decision. Again, nothing against Montiel, and he tends to always step it up for Argentina, but I would definitely go with Molina for sure.
Yeah, and it's based on the information. It's probably that's the defensive line for Argentina in the first match against Canada. I don't see, for example, Scaloni putting the first match and Nico Gonzalez in the left back position. I really don't see.
No. I don't see anything too crazy like that, like we saw versus Guatemala. Definitely not. No, I don't think we get that.
Then we move to the midfield positions, which I know it's, well, you were saying a little bit that was kind of your favorite names are kind of there. And I was actually reading this today, I think from Gaston Edul, the Argentine journalist, that he was saying that De Paul will start in the midfield and that then it's either Enzo Fernandez, Alexis McAllister, and Paredes. Those three have 2 spots. So one of those is not going to play. That's based on the reports I was reading this morning. If you ask me, I would go with the World Cup champion midfield, which is Enzo, Alexis McAllister, and Rodrigo De Paul.
Okay. So you'd go with the same one that started the final versus France?
Yes.
Essentially. Okay. All right. I'll give you mine in just a second. I'm taking a look at the chat. Let's see what the chat thinks. Got up saying Enzo, De Paul, McAllister. All right. That's one there. Then if we go to looking at other comments here, Liam is saying Paredes, De Paul, McAllister. Caspian is saying Paredes, De Paul, Alexis McAllister as well. Nasser Azar, De Paul, Paredes, McAllister. Duong changing it up just a little tiny bit, saying Paredes, Enzo, and De Paul. And I'm torn. I'm very much torn because a part of me wants to completely agree with you, Osvaldo, and say go with the same one that started the World Cup final. Completely. But another part of me thinks change it up and go with Rodrigo De Paul, Leandro Paredes, and Alexis McAllister.
Okay.
So Paredes instead of Enzo, just because I think, I don't know, maybe it's the form and maybe it's just coming back from injury. I don't know what it is, but having Paredes as that hybrid defensive midfielder, at least right now, and kind of feels or sits a little bit better than Enzo for me. But again, if Enzo were to start, hey, I would not be disappointed in that. Even though Enzo has not played bad, don't get me wrong, but I think Paredes, something about maybe unlocking a back line. I don't know, but it's either the midfield that you have, or I'm gonna change it up and say Paredes for Enzo. But either way, I'd be happy.
It's weird for me that nobody mentioned so far Ezequiel Palacios, for example, in their favorite midfield.
Yeah.
Because he had a great season with Bayer Leverkusen. Even the Argentinians, a lot of Argentinians were saying before these friendly matches how maybe De Paul should not play and in his place Palacios. That's something that it doesn't even goes in the mind of Scaloni. For what I
No.
know, is because he's his favorite player in the midfield, and I think he really offers to the team something that not other midfielders of the one we're mentioning offers. That is that running everywhere and basically being the engine of the team. Uh, but I just found it a little bit surprising because Ezequiel Palacios had a great season, and a lot of Argentinians are asking him at least to have a couple of minutes in this Copa America.
Yeah, it's true, and it's funny you mentioned Palacios because, as you mentioned, he did very well with the Leverkusen, and I'm saying this without totally researching it, but I think it's safe to say I think Palacios is the only Argentine midfielder with the league title this season. I mean, out of the ones that were picked, I believe. I mean, I don't think De Paul with Atletico, Enzo with Chelsea, Alexis with Liverpool, Paredes with Roma, Guido with Betis, and he's been a very good player for Argentina. Again, we go back to the depth and quality. He doesn't start. He doesn't start, even though, probably for other national teams he does. Actually, guaranteed he does. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I even think in Scaloni's consideration, maybe Lo Celso is even a step like on top of Palacios.
A step higher, possibly, possibly. It's I want everyone's opinion actually about Lo Celso, because whenever we do these chats, let me know down below, everybody in the chat. Let us know. I always feel like whenever we mention Lo Celso, it's either people absolutely love Lo Celso or they think he should kind of be dropped from the team for whatever reason. Let us know in the chat. And sorry, go ahead, Osvaldo.
No, yes, no. Another option that I think that we also didn't talk about, and I didn't read it too much in the chat, is having maybe four midfielders, um,
Yeah,
which is which was actually talk a lot about in the Argentine media before the friendly matches, but I don't really see it happening. But here we're just playing. We're saying which is our
yeah,
favorite, so we can play with four midfielders, with three, even with five. So
we got five,
uh,
yeah, with one striker.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that's, I mean, that's another thing, right? It's the formation. Personally, I would go with the 4-3-3. I think, I mean, you would too, as well, though, judging by the formation so far. And if we look at some more kind of midfielders, Duang saying, Paredes has been awesome. Trigger Happy RSD or SRT, sorry, says Enzo to be subbed on second half, still needs to recover his form. That's another thing as well, just his form. I mean, he's played 2 games in less than a week. To play 3 in a week and a half could be a little bit too much, just because he's coming back from injury. Zachary saying Palacios and Enzo from the bench. Duong De Paul is a must. Barrington, welcome Barrington Brown, says De Paul, McAllister, and Paredes. Zachary, I think this could be the thing, to be honest. I think nobody's replacing De Paul or McAllister. Third is up for debate, and I think that third could be between Enzo, Lo Celso, and Paredes. But we'll see. We'll see come the match versus Canada. As per Lo Celso, we'll be saying Lo Celso should be a sub, not a starter. Master Azar, Lo Celso has his ups and downs. I like Lo Celso, but he is best used as a sub. Enzo and Palacios should be ahead of him. There you go. Surprise Palacios didn't play. Oh, look. Okay, it's an interesting one now. Simeone is saying De Paul, Paredes, and Lo Celso. Lo Celso is the starter for me. So
That's the one from the last Copa America, the one we won.
Yeah, the one from the last Copa America, the one that Scaloni used for a good 2-3 years when he first took over.
Yeah,
in 2018. So nothing wrong with that. Tried and tested. Hasnat is saying Lo Celso needs to get regular playing time at club level. He's 5th choice in my opinion, behind De Paul, Enzo, McAllister, and Paredes. And finally, Korzeniac's saying Paredes, Rodrigo De Paul, and Alexis McAllister. So formation that I'm gonna go with, to be honest. That would be my formation.
Yeah. Look at how good at our midfield is. That we didn't mention Guido Rodriguez, who is almost a Barcelona player next season. Yeah, that's just incredible. But yeah, I think that Guido Rodriguez was one of the players that we were all thinking that maybe he wouldn't make the cut. Even I think it was like before they announced that it was up to 26. If it was 23 players, maybe he wouldn't have made it. But the truth is that he's a good player. He had been playing a lot with Betis, same as Germán Petzela, and I think that Scaloni might put him. Although we have a lot of midfielders, I think at some point Scaloni will play him in a second half in one of the first couple of matches.
I think so too, and we spoke about this maybe about a week ago now, or one of our last live discussions. Guido Rodriguez is really the only pure defensive midfielder in the team, and he might not be the flashiest of players. He might not be able to really play a through ball like, let's say, a Paredes or somebody else, but sometimes you need that in your team. And if we go back, I mean, Copa America, Argentina versus Uruguay, he started and he scored the only goal of the match 3 years ago. He was very good. So you never know. You really never know with these kinds of players, these kinds of matches. Sometimes it might be someone you least expect, and he's the one that gets you the goal. So I'm happy that Guido is in there, because I think there could potentially be a spot for him in the team to start or come on as a substitute, as you mentioned. Absolutely.
No, I agree. Yeah, if let's say we're winning 1-0 a match that is close, and you need a midfielder that can be more defensive, I think Guido Rodriguez will be probably Scaloni's first option from the bench.
Yeah, and he has the experience as well. He's not somebody that's 20 years old or whatnot, so he does have the experience on his side as well. Now, this one, and this is the more difficult option as well. What's your front? Actually, you know what? Who aside? Okay, so we have Messi, right? Of course.
Yes, of course.
Who do you play on the opposite side of Messi? Wherever you want to put Messi, or if you want to put Messi behind strikers, whatever. Who would you start on the opposite side?
Yeah, I'll put Messi as a right wing, and I'll put Di Maria as a left wing, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
No, yeah, I do not disagree with that. I do agree with that. Let us know in the chat. And Osvaldo, the $1 million question: who starts for you? Is it Lautaro or is it Julian Alvarez?
I would start Lautaro Martinez because he had a better season than Julian Alvarez. I know in the national team, Julian Alvarez had played better than Lautaro Martinez. But I even see Julian coming from the bench maybe better than what Martinez could do from the bench. And I think that, that Julian didn't play much with Manchester City, and Lautaro is arguably in the top 3 strikers in the world right now. I also believe that Scaloni doesn't like very much when they play together. He tried in one of the friendly matches. I personally also didn't like it much when I was watching it, and I also don't know where Julian Alvarez would play in that position, because maybe Lautaro Martinez would be the 9 and Julian more as a left wing, and I personally don't like that much. So I would go with Lautaro Martinez as a striker.
I agree with you for every single reason that you just stated. I would absolutely go with Lautaro Martinez. I think even like putting his 2 goals in the last match aside versus Guatemala, I think he's just probably in better goal scoring form, even though it sounds weird to say considering club season has been over for a couple of weeks, but he has had a better season in terms of goals. Lautaro is, in my opinion, one of the more, if not the most underrated striker in the world. For whatever reason, but yeah, I think Lautaro, in my opinion, I think he feels like he might have something to prove, especially after the World Cup, that he was unable to get a goal. He was injured, and there's something against him, but he was unable to get a goal, and now he has 2. versus Guatemala going into the Copa America opener versus Canada. So I would definitely go with Lautaro, and if you need to bring Julian Alvarez into the second half, then so be it. Bring him into the second half. But I would
Yeah,
prefer
no, I agree. I agree because also Julian, he has a style of pressing so high that I just imagine me as a defender of Canada in the minute 60 with Argentina, I don't know, winning 1-0, 2-0. And then you have a fresh Julian Alvarez that presses you and presses you and presses you. And I think that substitution can be really good because they have different styles. Lautaro Martinez doesn't really press match the defenders, but he's really good positioning his body and stuff. But I think Julian Alvarez in the second half, it just sounds very good to me.
Yeah, it makes more sense. It makes more sense for sure. Absolutely, and I do agree with that. Let's get to the comments here, seeing what everybody thinks. Let's get to Master Azar saying Di Maria and Alvarez alongside Messi. So Master Azar definitely agrees with us. Duang saying Di Maria. Korziniec saying Messi, Alvarez, and Di Maria. So Alvarez in place of Lautaro Martinez. Di Maria saying Alvarez, sorry, not Lautaro. Duang saying Lautaro. Mickey D is saying Lautaro was the best striker in the world for a few months, and that is very true. And how quickly people forget that. KJ, Lautaro is due for a monstrous campaign for this team. We start with him, but Alvarez is waiting on the wings. Yes. Also, everybody, as we continue, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. We got a lot of stuff coming up for you. Rian saying Lautaro, Messi, Di Maria. Zongao starting with Lautaro, Messi, Di Maria. And let's see, Lucas saying Alvarez has been really good for City, playing behind Haaland. And there you go, Kosinyac. Julian's movement more pleasant than Lautaro. And Mike, hey, Mike, a longtime Mundo fan and part of the family. Messi giving him the penalties, proof that he is the guy. He gave it to him to boost his confidence. It's one way of looking at it for sure. Maybe give it to Lautaro, saying, you know what, you take the goal, you need it in case you start the match versus Canada. Danvers FN, Lautaro's got to come up clutch like the last Copa America, and that's something people maybe tend to forget, is that he did score some important goals. And BC saying Lautaro, Messi, and Di Maria. So we're kind of split in the chat. A lot of people saying Lautaro, a lot of people saying Julian, but everybody's saying Messi and Di Maria. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone.
Yeah, and no Nico Gonzalez in the comments, for example.
No Nico Gonzalez, no Alvarez, no Garnacho, no Carboni, and I think that's it's a fair thing to say, especially in a Copa
Yeah.
America opener.
It is fair, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Nico Gonzalez starts against Canada. Really, you would
I
be
wouldn't.
surprised?
No, I wouldn't, and I'll get to that. Duang, take it easy. Thank you for joining us, my friend. And the wild prediction: Garnacho comes off the bench and scores. Why not? Why not? Look, would I be surprised if Nicolas Gonzalez started? No, especially because Di Maria started versus Ecuador, came off the bench versus Guatemala, so maybe he might rest him and try Nicolas Gonzalez up front. I wouldn't be surprised if Nicolas Gonzalez started, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Let's put it that way. I don't think that's gonna happen. But you can never know with Scaloni, for being honest. You can never really know with him. He always kind of surprises us. And so my next question is off the bench. Now, if you have Lautaro starting, then we know Julian starting. Off the bench for Di Maria, do you bring on Garnacho or do you bring on Nicolas Gonzalez? And that goes for everybody. Let us know, everybody, in the chat. Who do you bring on, Garnacho or Gonzalez?
Yeah, of course it would depend on the match because if you need
Okay.
more defensive of a defensive left wing, I would bring Nico Gonzalez, who have also played as a left back and can also help a lot in defense. And then Garnacho is more of an offensive player. If you really need that winger that can dribble and pass defenders, I would go with Garnacho. It depends on the match for sure.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a fair way of looking at it. I think that's a very fair way of looking at it. Versus Canada, I hope, and knock on wood, I'm not trying to be arrogant or confident or anything of the sort, but you would think at least logically, even though football is not always logic, most of the time, actually, anyways. You would think logically Argentina would be leading versus Canada. And I know Seba is not probably too happy listening to that, but you would think Argentina would be leading versus Canada, which would mean that you would think maybe Garnacho comes on in place of Di Maria instead of Nicolas Gonzalez. So you would think, but you never know.
Yeah. I actually see it the other way around. If we're winning against Canada, let's say 1-0, 2-0, whatever, I think he would like put Nico Gonzalez to try to defend a little bit more. And then if we're kind of tying and we need a player, a fast player like Garnacho, he might play Garnacho. It depends on the game for sure. I think also that something we have to take into consideration is that Scaloni chooses the names also based on the opponent. And the best player in Canada is Alfonso Davis, who will he's a left back. I think he will play as a left back for Canada too. And that would be our right side, would be like Messi's side, basically. So I guess Molina will try to stop him. Of course, we're talking about just one player, and Argentina can stop him, hopefully, in an easy way, but we'll see. But what I mean is that Scaloni also sometimes decides on the formation, even. Maybe we even have to play with 4 midfielders because of that, we need someone, because Messi is not going to run Alfonso Davis. We know that. So we don't know. We actually don't know.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, actually. It's a very valid point, and we don't know how that's going to line up. You mentioned about Scaloni switching up the formation or players based on the opponent. The perfect example of that is versus the Netherlands at the World Cup, where Lisandro Martinez was brought in, played a back five. Other than that match, we never really played a back five with Lisandro starting, essentially. So that is very point. So by that logic, and I'll look at the chat in just a second to bring up some of the answers and the suggestions and comments. But by that logic, I mean, if it's for Davies, we could get maybe a 4-4-2, maybe. We don't know. We don't know how what's gonna happen. Do you put Rodrigo De Paul on the right side with Molina to help him out defensively, and then you have Messi and Lautaro up front, or do you just go with the 4-3-3? So we won't know until kickoff, essentially.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Let's look at some of these comments, see what everybody is saying. Danvers, yes, knock on wood, hoping for no injuries. BC, Canada, sucks. He's going to start against anyone. Should be them. All right. Simeon saying Messi, Aguero, and Di Maria. Well, a little bit difficult with Aguero there. Luke, sorry, go ahead.
No, I saw one that put Carboni, Garnacho, and Nico Gonzalez as a striker. I'm sure he was kidding, but it was funny.
Has not. Yes, Carboni on the right wing, Garnacho as a striker, Nicolas Gonzalez as left wing. Maybe as the substitutes, maybe, but when we somehow keep Messi on the pitch as well. Lucas saying, I think Nico's form for the national team has been a bit poor. Excuse me. I see him playing better coming off the bench, especially since he plays with high intensity, and I am inclined to agree with that. I do think so. All right. There's a very, very good question here that I'm going to bring up after this as well. But going back, Garnacho. Lucas, of course, saying it depends on the match. Master Azar saying Garnacho. Simeon saying Nico Gonzalez failed the national team. I'm not sure why he's still being selected. He does still offer, in my opinion, a lot to the team. Depends on the state of the game, says Liam. If Canada are leaving space behind, then Gonzalez, but Garnacho if their fullback is struggling. Calvin, welcome, Calvin, to the live discussion, my friend. Opening matches are always difficult. The result more important to start on a positive, and I fully agree with that. Absolutely, 100%, fully agree with that. Garnacho, yeah, Miguel saying Garnacho does not play defense like Gonzalez. Now, let's change that question up a little bit, and maybe one that's less obvious. If the score is tied, let's say 70th minute, 75th minute, and Di Maria does need to be substituted off. He's tired. Do you bring on Julian Alvarez to play alongside Messi and Lautaro? Do you put Carboni? Do you put Nicolas Gonzalez? Do you put Garnacho? Very good question. I quite like that by Musabir. I'll give you some, a couple of moments to think about that, Osvaldo, if you have to. But that's potentially that could happen, right? Opening match of a tournament has never been easy for Argentina at World Cups. Well, hasn't always been easy, the opening match. Who do you bring on if we do need to sub off Di Maria in that case?
I think that if Lautaro Martinez starts, I would go with Julian Alvarez for sure. Yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, it's true. I remember the Copa America in Argentina. I think it was 2011 that we tied against Bolivia the first match. Yeah, it's not easy the first match of any of these competitions. We're seeing it in the Euros too. Belgium today lost 1-0.
France struggled. I mean, even France 1-0, and they are potentially without Mbappe. So yeah, for opening match is always tricky.
Yeah, I think England also won like 1-0, but it was a tough match, I think.
Yeah, very close.
So I agree that the most important thing is to win. Sometimes it's difficult to play well because there's a lot of pressure. We saw it against Saudi Arabia. So it's important to start with a win.
Yeah, no, of course, and that's the most important thing, right? You have to get the 3 points, and start with that. Mickey D's, I mean, take a little second here. Mickey D's saying, Zongao saying 4-4-2 holding midfield, and another midfielder for replacing Di Maria. Okay, all right. So Zongao going a little bit more tactical, changing up the formation just a little bit. Mickey D's really quickly saying, how does Mbappe hit that volley in the final but miss that sitter? He had that one-on-one chance for France today. And it makes you wonder the luck sometimes that Argentina has in some matches.
Yeah.
Calvin saying a draw with Chile last time too. Yeah, it's the opening matches, right? Messi scored that free kick versus Chile, and then I believe they had the penalty that was saved by Dibu, and then they scored the rebound in the opening match 3 years ago. 2019 was a struggle. 2016, I believe, was the last time Argentina won their opening match at a Copa America, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very difficult. The opening matches are very difficult, very, very tricky. Very tricky.
I have a question for you, Roy. Now
Go
that
ahead.
it's kind of off topic, but you mentioned Mbappe. So I want to ask you, I don't know if you already talked about this with Seba in the other live or what, but do you agree with Mbappe that the Euros are more difficult than the World Cup?
No, I don't. And we'll let the everybody in the chat answer as well. I think it's a ridiculous statement. I kind of understand why he said it, being Mbappe, but no. I mean, when you look at the fact that the reigning world champions are Argentina, when you look at the fact that the reigning Copa America champions completely demolished the reigning European champions in Italy, you look at the history that South America brings: 5 World Cups for Brazil, 3 World Cups for Argentina, Uruguay, depending on how you want to look at it, 4 World Cups or 2 World Cups, whatever it might be. You look at that and you're going to tell me that the Euros offer more? And then that's excluding the African countries, excluding the Asian countries. I find that very, very difficult to believe that the Euros are more difficult to win than the World Cup. The World Cup literally encompasses the best teams in the world, whereas the Euros encompasses maybe a quarter of the best teams in the world, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Osvaldo?
No, I agree. And not only about the past, because we have a lot of history of Brazil winning 5, Uruguay winning 2 or 4, and us winning 3. But also it's about the present, because I don't know, if you talk about the past, then if you compare, for example, the South American clubs with the European clubs, maybe teams like Boca Juniors have a lot of history, and if you compare them with Barcelona or even Real Madrid, in the history there's a correlation, but nowadays there's no correlation. I understand that, but it's not the case of the national teams. Like, it's not the case in the in today's competitions, and we just won the World Cup, and it's always difficult nowadays to play against Brazil, Uruguay, even Colombia, Chile in the last couple of years. So yeah, I totally don't agree. I think he kind of meant it in the way that he already won the World Cup. He reached a final of the World Cup in the Euros. He never did that well, I guess. So I kind of understand kind of the of why he said it. But I also the other day I think Modric also said that he didn't agree with Mbappe, and Messi doesn't agree with Mbappe, and everybody I think shouldn't agree with Mbappe if
No,
you think
no,
about it.
no. No, and the fact that you have someone, a perfect example, you mentioned Modric, right? Because if you want to mention Messi's comments, if you want to mention Leandro Paredes and his comments, then you'd say, okay, well, you're biased because you're South American. But someone you mentioned, Modric. Modric made a World Cup final with Croatia, lost versus France. Modric made a World Cup semi-final 4 years later, lost versus Argentina. And Modric is someone that has played at the highest level, has won literally everything there is to win with his club. And he's played at European Cups, he's played in World Cup finals. You have someone like him come out and just kind of just completely say he disagrees. I think that means a lot. I really think that means a lot. Yeah. And, again, I understand where Mbappe is coming from because it's Mbappe. And as you mentioned, he hasn't won a World Cup before and he hasn't won a Euros, but I completely disagree with that. Completely disagree. Um, we'll look at the comments here. BC saying Europe has a losing record versus South America by 11 matches, so the strongest continent is not there. Master Hazard, Euros are not better than the World Cup. BC, if you remove World Cup winning countries from both continents too, South America still has a winning record, 15-9-14, but barely. And what else we have? Uh, has not. Yeah, that's fair as well. You can have an easier route to win the Euros or the World Cup, depends on luck or draw. But generally, World Cup is more difficult. And then let's we're gonna finish things off with the Mike's question that we're gonna get to in just a little tiny bit. And Musabir saying the World Cup technically removes the weaker European teams and adds the best teams outside Europe. It's like saying Romania, Albania, etc., are better than Brazil and Argentina. That's a very, very good way of putting it. Now, getting to there was a question by Mike, and we spoke about this earlier. Is anyone going to any of the games? Well, let me say this. I know somebody that's going to at least 2 games, and it's the person I'm speaking with right now.
Yeah, I'm actually traveling Thursday morning. I'll be there in Atlanta. I'm traveling with my sister, with my cousins, with my aunt. So it's gonna be fun. I also have a friend from Argentina. I'm gonna meet there. That he's also came to the US to travel for the Copa America. And then the one in Miami, the one against Peru, right? Yeah, Peru.
Yeah, Peru.
The 29th. So I'm really excited. It's gonna be fun also because when you go with family and friends, it's really something different. I don't remember I don't think there was any time that I went to see the Argentina national team with like a group of people. I went with my dad
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and I actually went with my dad and with my sister to the it was a 3-0 before the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup here in Miami too. I think it was against Honduras.
Yeah.
But really, like this as a group, it's gonna be great. I'm really excited about it.
Man, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you. As for myself, I might be going. Well, we're talking about this off air. I might be going to the match versus Peru in Miami. I might be going to that one. I'll know relatively soon enough if I'm going to go to that. But Osvaldo, that's something. 2 Copa America matches, the first match and the last match of the group stages. That's cool. That's very, very cool. BC saying, isn't Osvaldo in Argentina? No, he's not. No, he's not. Let's see who else is going to some games. Trigger Happy SRT. I'll be at the game in MetLife versus Chile and also the semifinal at MetLife. That's a good one. Those are some good games. Hopefully you get to go. Hopefully Argentina's in the semifinal one at MetLife. Trigger Happy. Hopefully trying to make it to the final as well. What else? What else? Looking to see. Hey, going to the quarterfinal, Danvers FN. Enjoy, my friend. Hope Argentina's there, depending on where you are. Mike, Lucas saying Argentina versus Chile. That's the match that Lucas is going to. Mike says him too, and that's in 8 days. So we got a couple of people going to some Copa America games. Definitely something to look forward to if you're an Argentina fan, or if you're a fan of the beautiful game and you're going to some of the matches. On that note, before we wrap things up, Osvaldo, any final thoughts, any final comments before we close things up?
Just excited for Argentina in the first match, and from then on, it's always good. I don't know. I've been watching the Euros, and it's all good with the Euros, but I want to see Argentina playing on the Copa America and start to think about our possible rivals in the next rounds and stuff. So I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, look, football's football. I'll watch practically anything when it comes to football, and I've been watching a bit of the Euros, not too much. I missed the weekend games. I was out, but it's not the same thing. I don't know. Even if Argentina is not playing in South America, you watch a South American game, you watch a European game, it doesn't feel the same. The atmosphere, the play, the everything. So I'm definitely excited for it. I cannot wait. For us personally, for Mundo Albiceleste, this is, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to do some quick math here, but Mundo Albiceleste, we've been covering Copa America since 2007. So 2007 Copa, 11, 15, 16, 19, 21, and now 24. So this is the 7th Copa America we're going to be covering here on Mundo Albiceleste. So that's special for us. We got some stuff coming up before the Copa America as well. We're not done. We got some stuff coming up during the Copa America, and of course some stuff after the Copa America. Argentina versus Canada is on Thursday. Osvaldo, we might try and set up, maybe do a preview, I don't know, on Wednesday, depending on how things go. We'll see.
Sure, that can work. Yeah.
We'll talk to Seba. For the record, Seba was unable to make it today. I did ask, but he was unable to make it. So he's not locked in the basement. Don't worry, he's been free for a while now. But no, it's special. It's always special when it's Argentina, even more so when it's the Copa America, in my opinion. Obviously, of course, with the World Cup. But on that note, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for joining us live, joining us, the repeat on YouTube, watching us. Leave us a comment. Where are you watching from? What do you think of the team, the 3 players that were cut, and what would be your starting 11 versus Canada on Thursday? Let us know in the comments down below, everybody. If you like what you saw, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications button to be the first person notified as soon as a new video drops. Once more, a big thank you, everybody. My name is Roy Nemmer. This is Osvaldo Godoy of MundoAlbiceleste.com. Thank you, everybody, and take care until next time.